Maya stared at the bright red letters on the paper in her hands. Final notice. Pay or quit was printed in bold across the top. She read it for the third time, hoping somehow the words would change. They didn't. Mommy, look what I drew. Her 6-year-old daughter Sophie called from the kitchen table. The little girl held up a crayon drawing of 2 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. It's me and you in our new house. Maya's heart squeezed tight. Sophie didn't understand they might not have any house soon. The child colored away, humming a song she learned at school, completely unaware that their world was falling apart. 3 months ago, Maya had been an office manager at a small marketing company. The pay wasn't amazing, but it was enough to cover their tiny apartment, groceries, and Sophie's daycare. Then the company lost their biggest client. Within a week, half the staff was let go. Maya was one of them. She had tried everything since then. Applied to hundreds of jobs online. Went to every business in town asking if they were hiring. She even cleaned houses for cash when she could find the work. But nothing steady came up. Nothing that paid enough to cover their bills. The savings account that took her 5 years to build was gone. The credit cards were maxed out. Her ex-husband Tom was supposed to send child support, but that money came when he felt like it, which wasn't often. Maya's parents lived across the country and barely had enough money for themselves. Her sister was dealing with her own problems. There was nobody to call for help. It was just her and Sophie against the world. The rent was due 2 weeks ago. The landlord had already been patient, but even nice landlords had bills to pay. The eviction notice gave them exactly 14 days to come up with $1,800 or pack their things. Maya looked around their small apartment. It wasn't much, but it was home. Sophie's drawings covered the refrigerator. Her toys were scattered across the living room floor. The little girl had never known any other place. I'm hungry, Mommy, Sophie said, putting down her crayon. Maya opened the refrigerator. Half a carton of milk, some leftover rice, and a few eggs. Not much, but enough for dinner. Tomorrow was another question. She cooked the rice and scrambled the eggs while Sophie chatted about her day at school. The little girl was always happy, always talking. She had no idea how close they were to losing everything. After dinner, Maya tucked Sophie into bed and read her 3 stories. It was their nightly routine. No matter how bad things got, Maya always made sure Sophie felt loved and safe. Good night, sweetheart, Maya whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead. Good night, Mommy. Tomorrow will be better, right? Maya's eyes filled with tears. Yes, baby. Tomorrow will be better. But Maya didn't know how. She sat at her laptop until midnight, applying for more jobs, gas station attendant, store clerk, anything. She was willing to do whatever it took. The next morning, Maya dropped Sophie at school and continued her job hunt. She walked into every restaurant, every shop, every office building downtown. Most places weren't hiring. The ones that were wanted experience she didn't have, or couldn't match her schedule with Sophie's school hours. By noon, Maya was exhausted and discouraged. She sat on a bench outside the city's fanciest restaurant, Meridian. Through the big windows, she could see people in expensive clothes having lunch. Everyone looked so comfortable, so secure. Maya was about to leave when she noticed a help wanted sign in the window. She had walked past this place dozens of times but never thought to apply. It seemed too fancy, too intimidating. But she was running out of options. Maya straightened her jacket and walked inside. The restaurant was beautiful, with dark wood tables, soft lighting, and fresh flowers everywhere. It smelled like herbs and expensive wine. She felt completely out of place in her old jeans and worn sneakers. A woman in a crisp white shirt approached her. Can I help you? I saw the sign in the window. About the job? The woman looked Maya up and down. We're looking for experienced servers. I don't have restaurant experience, but I'm a hard worker. I learn fast. I really need this job. Maybe something in Maya's voice convinced her. Or maybe they were desperate too. After a few questions, the manager offered her the position. Training starts tomorrow at 9. You'll need black pants, white shirt, and non-slip shoes. Think you can handle it? Maya nodded eagerly. Yes, absolutely. Good. Don't be late. Maya practically floated out of the restaurant. She had a job. It would mean working nights and weekends, but Sophie's school had an aftercare program. They could make this work. The next morning, Maya borrowed a white shirt from her neighbor and bought cheap black pants from a thrift store. The non-slip shoes would have to wait until she got her first paycheck. Her hands shook as she walked into Meridian for her first shift. The other servers moved with confidence, balancing multiple plates and chatting easily with customers. Maya felt like she was pretending to be someone she wasn't. You'll start with table 12, the manager said, handing her a notepad. It's just one customer. Easy first table. Maya took a deep breath and walked across the restaurant. She could do this. She had to do this. For Sophie. For their future. For their home. The man at table 12 sat with his back to her, typing on his phone. He wore an expensive-looking suit, and his watch caught the light when he moved his hand. Maya approached slowly, her heart pounding. Good afternoon, welcome to Meridian. I'm Maya, and I'll be taking care of you today. The man looked up from his phone, and Maya's world stopped spinning. It was Alex. Alex Morrison. The boy she'd fallen in love with in college 7 years ago. The man who'd walked away when she told him she was pregnant. The person she thought she'd never see again. He looked different now. Older, obviously. More polished. His hair was perfectly styled. His skin had a healthy glow that came from expensive skincare and stress-free living. Everything about him screamed success and money. Alex stared at her with the same shock she felt. His mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. Maya's mind raced. Of all the restaurants in the city, of all the tables she could have been assigned, this had to happen. Her first day, her first customer, and it was him. She thought about turning around and walking out, but she couldn't. This job was all that stood between Sophie and homelessness. Whatever history she had with Alex, she needed to push it aside and do her work. Can I start you with something to drink? She asked, her voice somehow steady despite the chaos in her head. Alex continued to stare at her, clearly trying to process what he was seeing. Maya in a server's uniform. Maya looking tired and stressed. Maya standing in front of him when he thought he'd never see her again. The silence stretched between them, filled with 7 years of unspoken words and unanswered questions. Finally, Alex cleared his throat. Just water, please. Maya nodded and walked away on unsteady legs. Her hands trembled as she filled his glass. She had managed to get through the first few minutes, but this was only the beginning. She had no idea that Alex Morrison, the boy who'd broken her heart, was now worth more money than she could imagine. And she had no idea that this unexpected meeting would change everything for both of them. Maya walked back to Alex's table with the glass of water, her hands still shaking slightly. She set it down carefully, avoiding his eyes. The silence between them was thick and uncomfortable. Thank you, Alex said quietly. His voice was deeper than she remembered, more confident. Success had changed him in ways she could see and hear. Maya pulled out her notepad. Are you ready to order, or do you need a few more minutes? Alex looked at the menu, but she could tell he wasn't really reading it. His eyes kept flicking up to her face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. I'll have the salmon, he said finally. Maya wrote it down and walked away quickly. Her heart was beating so fast she thought other customers might hear it. She gave the order to the kitchen and tried to focus on her other tables, but her mind kept drifting back to Alex. What was he doing here? Did he live in the city now? Was he married? Did he have kids? The question swirled in her head as she served salads and refilled water glasses. She watched Alex from the corner of her eye. He ate slowly, checking his phone between bites. Everything about him screamed money. His watch probably cost more than her rent. His shoes looked like they were handmade. When Alex finished his meal, he left a $100 tip on a $30 check. Maya stared at the money in disbelief. It was more than she usually made in tips all day. Everything okay? Asked Jenny, another server who'd been working there for years. Maya quickly pocketed the cash. Yeah, just a generous customer. But Alex didn't stay away. He came back the next day asking to sit in Maya's section. Then the day after that. And the day after that. Each visit was awkward and polite. Alex would order his food, eat quietly, and leave enormous tips. Maya would serve him professionally, making small talk about the weather or the specials. Neither of them mentioned their past, but Maya could feel him watching her, studying her, like he was trying to understand how she'd ended up there. After a week of this routine, Alex finally broke the pattern. "You have a child," he said when Maya brought his check. It wasn't a question. Maya's blood ran cold. "Excuse me? You mentioned picking up your daughter from aftercare yesterday, when you apologized for being late with the bread." Maya had hoped he hadn't caught that slip. She tried to keep her personal life separate from work, but sometimes details leaked through. "Yes, I have a daughter," Maya said carefully. "Is there anything else I can get you?" Alex studied her face. "How old?" Maya's hands tightened on her notepad. Why was he asking? What right did he have to know anything about Sophie? "She's 6, Maya said finally. She watched Alex do the math in his head. His face went pale as he realized what that timing meant. "Maya, I need to check on my other tables," Maya interrupted, walking away before he could finish. But the damage was done. Alex knew. She could see it in his eyes, the way his whole body had gone rigid when she said Sophie's age. That night, Maya lay awake staring at the ceiling. 7 years ago, when she'd found out she was pregnant, she'd tried to reach Alex. She'd called, his old number, but it was disconnected. She'd looked him up online but couldn't find any current contact information. He'd graduated and moved across the country for some tech job, cutting all ties with their college town. Maya had been scared and alone, but she'd made a choice. She would raise her baby by herself. She wouldn't spend her life chasing after someone who'd already made it clear he didn't want that kind of responsibility. Sophie was better off not knowing a father who might disappoint her. Maya had convinced herself of that years ago, but now Alex was back, and everything felt complicated again. The next day, Alex was waiting when the restaurant opened. He asked for Maya's section, same as always, but when she brought his water, he looked different, tired, like he hadn't slept. "We need to talk," he said quietly. "I'm working," Maya replied, "and I don't think we have anything to discuss." "Maya, please. If she's mine, she's mine," Maya said firmly. "That's all that matters." Alex leaned back in his chair, running his hands through his hair. "I never knew. I swear to you, I never knew." Maya wanted to believe him, but it was easier to stay angry. Anger protected her. Anger kept her strong. "Your order?" she asked, pen ready. Alex ordered his usual salmon, and Maya walked away. But throughout the meal, she could feel his eyes on her. When she brought his check, there was a business card tucked under his plate. "That's my number," Alex said. "When you're ready to talk." Maya picked up the card. Morrison Tech Solutions, CEO Alex Morrison. Her stomach dropped. CEO. She Googled the company on her break and nearly fell out of her chair. Morrison Tech Solutions had sold to a major corporation last year for $3 billion. $3 billion. With a B articles called Alex a tech wunderkind and a visionary entrepreneur. There were photos of him at charity galas and business conferences. He lived in a world Maya couldn't even imagine. And here she was, struggling to make rent while serving him salmon. Maya felt humiliated, not just because of the money, though that stung, but because Alex was seeing her at her lowest point. When they'd dated in college, she'd been confident, ambitious. She'd had dreams of her own. Now she was a single mom working as a waitress, one missed paycheck away from homelessness. Over the next few weeks, Alex kept coming to the restaurant. Sometimes he brought his laptop and worked while he ate. Sometimes he just sat quietly, lost in thought. Maya began to recognize his routine. He always tipped generously. Too generously. Maya saved every dollar, but part of her resented the money. It felt like pity, like he was trying to ease his conscience by throwing cash at her problems. Why don't you just talk to him? Jenny asked one day after watching another awkward interaction. It's complicated, Maya said. Honey, I've been watching this dance for a month. That man is carrying some serious guilt, and you're carrying some serious anger. Maybe it's time to clear the air. Maya knew Jenny was right, but she wasn't ready. Every day she watched Alex in his expensive suits, talking on his phone about business deals worth more money than she'd see in 10 lifetimes. Meanwhile, Maya was still worried about making rent, still stretching every dollar, still lying awake at night wondering what would happen if Sophie got sick and needed to go to the doctor. The contrast between their lives was stark and painful. But Maya noticed other things too. How Alex always said please and thank you, not just to her but to everyone. How he was patient when the kitchen was slow, how he asked about her day and actually seemed to listen to the answer. Sometimes in quiet moments she caught glimpses of the boy she'd fallen in love with in college. The one who'd made her laugh until her sides hurt. Who'd stayed up all night, helping her study for finals. Who'd said he loved her and meant it, at least for a while. Those glimpses made everything more confusing. It would be easier if Alex was a complete stranger. But he wasn't. Underneath all the success and money, he was still the person who'd once been the most important thing in her world. And now he knew about Sophie. Which meant everything was about to change, whether Maya was ready or not. Maya had been working at Meridian for 6 weeks when everything fell apart on a Tuesday evening. The restaurant was packed, every table full, and she was already running behind when her phone buzzed with a call from Sophie's school. Ms. Rodriguez, this is Claire from Sunny Days After Care. Sophie has a fever and isn't feeling well. You need to pick her up right away. Maya's heart sank. She was in the middle of the dinner rush, carrying plates and taking orders. Her manager, Mr. Peterson, didn't like personal interruptions during busy times. I'll be there as soon as I can, Maya said, stepping into the kitchen. She found Mr. Peterson counting inventory. I need to leave. My daughter is sick at school. Mr. Peterson frowned. Maya, we're slammed out there. Can't someone else pick her up? There's no one else, Maya said quietly. It was the truth that always stung. No grandparents nearby, no ex-husband who could be counted on, no backup plan. Mr. Peterson sighed. Fine, but you need to find coverage for your remaining tables, and this can't become a regular thing. Maya rushed through her handoff to Jenny and drove to the school. Sophie was curled up in the nurse's office, her cheeks flushed with fever. She looked so small and fragile. Mommy, Sophie said weakly when she saw Maya. I don't feel good. Maya felt her forehead, hot, definitely running a temperature. I know, sweetheart, let's get you home. But Maya couldn't go home. She was scheduled to work until closing, and missing that much income would hurt. She also couldn't leave Mr. Peterson, completely short-staffed on such a busy night. Maya made a desperate decision. She would bring Sophie back to the restaurant, let her rest in the break room until closing time. It wasn't ideal, but it was the only option that kept her from losing wages, or possibly her job. Sophie slept in the car on the drive back to Meridian. Maya carried her sleeping daughter through the back entrance, hoping to avoid Mr. Peterson. She settled Sophie on the small couch in the employee break room with her jacket as a blanket. Just rest here, baby. Mommy has to work for a few more hours. Sophie nodded sleepily. The fever had made her quiet and clingy. Maya returned to her tables, checking on Sophie every few minutes. The little girl dozed on and off, occasionally asking for water or complaining about feeling hot. Around 8 o'clock, Maya was balancing 4 plates when she saw Alex walk in. Her stomach flipped. He usually came for lunch, not dinner, and tonight of all nights when everything was already chaos. Jenny seated Alex at one of Maya's tables. Maya delivered her plates and walked over, forcing a professional smile. Good evening. Can I start you with something to drink? Alex studied her face. You look stressed. Everything okay? Maya was surprised by his concern. Just a busy night. What can I get you? The usual. And Maya? He paused. You really do look upset about something. Before Maya could respond, a small voice called from across the restaurant. Mommy! Maya's blood turned to ice. Sophie stood in the break room doorway, rubbing her eyes. Her hair was messy from sleeping and she still looked flushed from the fever. Every head in the restaurant turned. Maya felt her face burn with embarrassment. Bringing your sick child to work was not professional. Mr. Peterson was going to be furious. "Mommy, I'm thirsty," Sophie said, walking slowly toward Maya. Maya rushed to her daughter, kneeling down to Sophie's level. "Sweetheart, you need to stay in the back room. Remember what I told you?" But it was too late. Alex had seen everything. Maya glanced back at him and felt her world tilt. Alex was staring at Sophie with an expression she'd never seen before. His face had gone completely white, and his hands gripped the edge of the table. The resemblance was unmistakable. Sophie had Alex's dark hair, his exact same eye color, even the same stubborn chin. Looking at them together, no one could doubt they were related. Maya quickly guided Sophie back to the break room, her heart pounding. When she returned to Alex's table minutes later, he looked like he'd seen a ghost. "That's her," Alex said quietly. "That's your daughter." Maya nodded, unable to trust her voice. "She looks like—" Alex stopped, shaking his head. "Maya, she looks exactly like me when I was a kid." Maya still couldn't speak. She'd spent 6 years protecting this secret, and now it was out in the worst possible way. "Is she mine?" Alex asked directly. The question hung in the air between them. Maya felt the weight of 6 years of careful lies and half-truths crashing down on her shoulders. "Yes," she whispered. Alex leaned back in his chair like she'd hit him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Maya's carefully controlled emotions finally broke. 7 years of anger, fear, and exhaustion poured out. "I tried," she said, her voice cracking. "I tried to call you when I found out I was pregnant. Your number was disconnected. I looked everywhere, online. You'd moved to California and disappeared. I had no way to reach you." Alex ran his hands through his hair. "I changed everything when I moved. New number, new email. I wanted a fresh start." "A fresh start," Maya repeated bitterly. "That's exactly what you said when you left. You weren't ready for responsibility. You wanted to focus on your career. That was different. I was 21 and scared, but a baby." Alex's voice trailed off. "Maya, if I'd known about her, everything would have been different." Maya wanted to believe him, but the hurt was too deep. "Would it? Or would you have just felt trapped?" "I would have come back," Alex said firmly. "I would have married you. We would have figured it out together." The words hit Maya like a punch to the chest. All these years she'd convinced herself that Alex wouldn't have cared, that she was protecting Sophie from a father who didn't want her. "I waited," Maya said quietly. "I waited for 3 months, hoping you'd call or write or something. But you never did. So I decided Sophie was better off without a father who might disappoint her." Alex looked stricken. "I hired an assistant when I started my company. She screened all my calls, filtered my emails. If you tried to reach me—" "She would have blocked it," Maya finished. The realization hit them both at the same time. An overzealous assistant had changed the course of 3 lives. "What's her name?" Alex asked softly. "Sophie." "Sophie," he repeated like he was testing how it sounded. "She's 6? 6 last month?" Alex closed his eyes. "I missed her birthday. I missed 6 birthdays." Maya saw real pain on his face. This wasn't the reaction she'd expected. She'd thought he might deny it or get angry or try to run away again. She hadn't expected him to look heartbroken. "Mommy?" Sophie appeared again, this time walking straight to their table. The fever had made her bold and clingy. Maya started to redirect her, but Alex spoke first. "Hi there," he said gently to Sophie. "I'm Alex. I'm a friend of your mom's." Sophie studied him with serious eyes. "You're the nice man who tips Mommy lots of money." Alex glanced at Maya, surprised. "You told her about that?" "She notices everything," Maya said. "Sophie, this is Alex. Alex, this is my daughter, Sophie." "It's nice to meet you, Sophie," Alex said. His voice was careful, like he was afraid of saying the wrong thing. Sophie leaned against Maya's leg. "I don't feel good, Mommy." Maya felt her forehead again, still hot. I know, baby. Just a little while longer, okay? Alex stood up suddenly. Let me drive you home, both of you. That's not necessary, Maya said quickly. Maya, she's sick. You shouldn't be working and… Alex paused, looking at Sophie. She's my daughter, too. Let me help. The words hung in the air. My daughter, too. Maya had spent 6 years thinking of Sophie as only hers. Hearing Alex claim her felt strange and scary. But Sophie was getting worse, and Maya was exhausted. For once, maybe it was okay to accept help. Okay, Maya said quietly. Let me tell my manager I'm leaving. As Maya gathered their things, she watched Alex look at Sophie with wonder and regret. 6 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, first words and little victories. 6 years he'd missed and could never get back. The truth was finally out. But Maya had no idea if that would make things better or worse. Alex drove them home in his sleek black car, the kind Maya had only seen in magazines. Sophie fell asleep in the back seat, her small hand clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. Maya sat quietly in the passenger seat, watching the city lights blur past the window. This is it, Maya said when they reached her apartment building. It looked shabby next to Alex's expensive car. Peeling paint, cracked sidewalks, a broken streetlight that had been flickering for months. Alex parked and looked up at the building. Maya could see him taking it all in. The iron bars on the first-floor windows, the overflowing dumpster, the graffiti on the brick walls. Let me help you carry her upstairs, Alex said quietly. Maya wanted to say no. She'd been carrying Sophie by herself for 6 years. But the little girl was getting heavier as she grew, and Maya was tired. So tired. Alex lifted Sophie carefully from the car seat. She stirred but didn't wake up, instinctively curling against his chest. Maya watched his face soften as he looked down at their daughter. His daughter. She still couldn't get used to that idea. Maya's apartment was on the 3rd floor. No elevator, just narrow stairs that creaked with every step. Alex followed her up, carrying Sophie like she was made of glass. Where should I put her? Alex whispered when Maya unlocked the door. Her bedroom is through there. Maya pointed down the short hallway. The apartment was small but clean. Maya had worked hard to make it feel like home, despite the worn furniture and second-hand decorations. Sophie's drawings covered the refrigerator and her toys were organized in colorful bins. Alex laid Sophie gently on her bed. Maya pulled off the little girl's shoes and covered her with a blanket. Sophie mumbled something in her sleep and rolled over. When they walked back to the living room, Alex looked around with sad eyes. How much is your rent here? Maya stiffened. Why? I want to help. I want to make up for lost time. You can't. Buy back 6 years, Maya said sharply. And I don't want your money. Alex ran his hand through his hair, frustrated. Maya, I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Let me help you and Sophie have a better life. This is our life, Maya said. It's not perfect, but it's ours. Sophie is happy here. But you're struggling, I can see it. The stress, the exhaustion, working all those hours just to make rent. Maya felt her defenses rising. I've managed just fine without you. I know you have, Alex said softly. But you don't have to anymore. I'm here now. Maya looked at him standing in her tiny living room, his expensive suit completely out of place among her thrift store furniture. For how long? Until you get bored? Until your family tells you to focus on more important things? Alex's face tightened. That's not fair, isn't it? You left once. What's to stop you from leaving again when things get complicated? Alex was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and showed Maya a photo. This is my office wall. Maya looked at the screen. It was a picture of Alex's office, but what caught her attention was a small framed photo on his desk. It was the only personal item visible among all the business awards and expensive art. The photo was of Maya and Alex from college, taken at a campus festival. They were laughing at something, his arm around her shoulders, both of them young and happy and completely in love. I never took it down, Alex said quietly. 7 years, 3 different offices, and I never took it down. Maya stared at the photo, remembering that day. They'd been so sure they'd be together forever, so confident that nothing could break them apart. That doesn't change anything, Maya said, but her voice was softer now. Let me prove it to you, Alex said. Let me show you I'm not going anywhere. Maya wanted to believe him, but trust didn't come easily anymore. Sophie doesn't know who you are. She thinks you're just a customer from the restaurant. Then let me get to know her. Slowly. However you're comfortable with. Maya studied his face, looking for signs of doubt or hesitation. She found none. No big gestures, Maya said finally. No expensive gifts or sudden changes, and Sophie's feelings come first always. Agreed, Alex said quickly, and I'm keeping my job. I don't want your money. Alex looked like he wanted to argue but nodded instead. Okay. Over the next few weeks, Alex became a regular part of their routine. He started small, showing up at the restaurant during Maya's lunch shift when it was quieter. He would eat his meal and chat casually with Sophie when Maya brought her to work on days when aftercare was closed. Sophie was naturally friendly and curious. She asked Alex about his work, his car, whether he had any pets. Alex answered patiently, clearly charmed by her endless questions. Do you have kids? Sophie asked one day, coloring at a corner table while Maya worked. Alex glanced at Maya, who was wiping down nearby tables. Not exactly, he said carefully. But I'd like to. Kids are fun, Sophie said seriously. But they're a lot of work. That's what Mommy always says. Maya had to smile at that. Sophie was always listening, always repeating things at the most unexpected moments. Alex started learning Sophie's schedule. He would accidentally run into them at the grocery store or the park. He memorized her favorite foods, her bedtime, routine, the names of her stuffed animals. Maya watched him carefully during these encounters. She was looking for signs that he was forcing it, pretending to be interested in a child's world. But Alex seemed genuinely fascinated by Sophie. He listened to her rambling stories about school with complete attention. He laughed at her silly jokes like they were the funniest things he'd ever heard. He's nice, Sophie told Maya one evening after Alex had helped her feed ducks at the pond near their apartment. And he knows lots of interesting stuff. Maya's heart squeezed. Sophie was getting attached. That's what Maya had been afraid of. But she was also seeing sides of Alex she'd forgotten. His patience when Sophie took forever to tie her shoes. His gentle way of explaining things when she asked complicated questions. How he never talked down to her or dismissed her ideas. He was good with children. He was good with her child. Still, Maya kept her guard up. She'd been hurt before, and Sophie's heart was even more fragile than her own. One evening, Maya came home from work to find an envelope under her door. Inside was a receipt showing her rent had been paid. In full, along with a note. Not trying to control anything, just didn't want you to worry this month. Maya was furious. She called Alex immediately. I told you I didn't want your money, she said as soon as he answered. It's not charity, Alex said calmly. It's child support. 6 years of back payments. Maya wanted to argue, but legally he had a point. If they'd gone through the courts, Alex would have been paying support all along. Don't do it again without asking, Maya said finally. I won't, Alex promised. But Maya, let me help in other ways. Sophie mentioned she wants to take swimming lessons. Maya sighed. Swimming lessons cost money she didn't have, and Sophie had been asking about them for months. The community center has a program, Alex continued. I already checked. They have financial aid applications. Maya was quiet. Alex wasn't offering to pay directly. He was giving her information, letting her make the choice. I'll look into it, Maya said. Good, Alex said. And Maya? I had lunch with my parents yesterday. I told them about Sophie. Maya's stomach dropped. What did they say? Alex was quiet for a moment. They want to meet her. Eventually, when you're ready. Maya wasn't sure she'd ever be ready for that. Alex's parents had money and influence. They could complicate everything. One step at a time, Alex said, like he could read her thoughts. I'm not pushing anything. I just wanted you to know. Maya hung up the phone and sat in her quiet apartment. Sophie was asleep. Alex was trying to prove himself, and Maya was caught between protecting her daughter and giving her the father she'd never known she was missing. Change was coming whether Maya was ready or not. She just hoped she was making the right choices. 3 months later, Maya was mixing cookie dough in her apartment kitchen when Sophie burst through the front door, practically bouncing with excitement. Mommy. Alex taught me how to skip rocks. At the pond. I made one bounce 4 times. Alex followed behind, carrying Sophie's backpack and wearing a huge grin. Saturday afternoons had become their routine. Alex would pick up Sophie from Maya's apartment, take her somewhere fun, then bring her home with stories to tell and energy to burn. 4 bounces is pretty impressive, Maya said, continuing to stir the dough. Did you remember to thank Alex? Thank you, Alex, Sophie said dramatically, throwing her arms around his legs. Maya watched Alex's face light up. He still looked surprised sometimes when Sophie hugged him or chose to sit next to him, like he couldn't believe this little person actually wanted him around. What are you making? Alex asked, peering into the mixing bowl. Chocolate chip cookies for Sophie's class party tomorrow, Maya said. Mrs. Chen asked parents to bring homemade treats. I could have bought cookies from that fancy bakery downtown, Alex offered. Maya gave him a look. We talked about this. Alex held up his hands in surrender. Right. No throwing money at everything. Got it. It had been a long journey getting to this comfortable place. Alex had learned to ask before helping, to follow Maya's rules about Sophie, to respect the life they'd built together. Maya had learned to let him in, piece by piece. The biggest moment had come 6 weeks ago, on a rainy Thursday evening. Sophie had been asking more questions about Alex. Why he didn't have a family, why he ate alone at the restaurant, why he spent so much time with them. Maya had finally sat down with her daughter and told her the truth. Sophie, you know how some kids have daddies who live with them and some kids have daddies who live somewhere else? Sophie had nodded, thinking of her friend Jessica, whose parents were divorced. Well, Alex is your daddy. He lives somewhere else, but he loves you very much. Sophie had been quiet for a long time, processing this information. Then she'd asked, Is that why he has the same color eyes as me? Maya had smiled. Yes, sweetheart. That's exactly why. Sophie had taken the news better than Maya expected. Children were adaptable in ways adults forgot. Having a daddy suddenly appear in her life wasn't traumatic. It was just a new piece of information to fit into her world. Can I call him Daddy? Sophie had asked. If you want to. Or you can keep calling him Alex. Whatever feels right. Sophie had chosen to stick with Alex for now. But Maya noticed her watching other kids with their fathers more carefully, like she was learning how that relationship was supposed to work. Alex had cried when Maya told him about the conversation. Actually cried sitting in Maya's living room with tears running down his cheeks. She knows, he'd whispered. She knows I'm her father. She's known something was different for weeks, Maya had said gently. Kids pick up on more than we think. Now, watching Alex and Sophie together in her kitchen, Maya marveled at how natural they looked. Alex was helping Sophie wash her hands. At the sink, both of them laughing about something. They had the same laugh, Maya realized, the same way of tilting their heads when they found something funny. Can Alex stay for dinner? Sophie asked, drying her hands on a towel. Maya glanced at Alex. They'd been careful not to fall back into old patterns. Alex was Sophie's father now, but that didn't automatically make him Maya's boyfriend again. They were figuring out how to be co-parents without the romantic history complicating everything. If he wants to, Maya said. I'm just making spaghetti. I'd love to stay, Alex said, but let me help cook. They worked together in Maya's tiny kitchen, Alex chopping vegetables while Maya boiled pasta, and Sophie set the table with her special job of folding napkins. It felt domestic and comfortable in a way that surprised Maya. Over dinner, Sophie chattered about school, her friends, a book she was reading. Alex listened with complete attention, asking questions about her favorite characters and what she thought would happen next in the story. Alex, Sophie said suddenly, twirling spaghetti around her fork. Do you have any brothers or sisters? No, just me, Alex said. But I have grandparents who would love to meet you someday. Maya tensed. They'd talked about Alex's parents, but meeting them still felt like a big step. Are they nice? Sophie asked. Alex glanced at Maya. They're good people. They're just different from your mom and me. They have a big house and fancy things. Fancy like your car? Alex laughed. Even fancier than my car. After dinner, Alex helped clean dishes while Sophie took her bath. Maya found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. Having another adult share the evening routine, someone who cared about Sophie as much as she did, was a relief she hadn't expected. She's incredible, Alex said quietly, drying the last plate. You did an amazing job raising her. We did it together, Maya said. She's half you too. Alex was quiet for a moment. Maya, I've been thinking about something. You mentioned once that you used to love cooking, that you dreamed of having your own catering business. Maya's hand stilled in the soapy water. That was a long time ago. But you still love it. I see how happy you are when you're cooking for Sophie. How proud you were of those cookies you made for her school party last week. Maya dried her hands on a dish towel. Dreams don't pay rent, Alex. What if they could? Alex asked carefully. I'm not talking about giving you money, I'm talking about a business loan. Real terms, real interest rates, a real partnership. Maya turned to face him. You don't know anything about the catering business. No, but I know about business. And I know about you. You're smart, hardworking, and you make the best food I've ever tasted. Sophie brags about your cooking to anyone who'll listen. Maya felt a flutter of possibility in her chest, the old dream stirring back to life. I'd need a commercial kitchen, equipment, insurance, licenses, all solvable problems, Alex said. If you're interested. Before Maya could respond, Sophie appeared in the doorway wearing her pajamas and carrying her favorite stuffed rabbit. Ready for stories? Maya asked. Can Alex read one? Sophie asked hopefully. Maya looked at Alex, who nodded eagerly. They'd been building toward this moment for weeks, Alex becoming part of Sophie's bedtime routine, one of the most sacred parts of their day. Pick out 3 books, Maya said. One for me, one for Alex, and one we'll read together. Sophie ran to her room and came back with her selections. Maya read first a familiar story about a brave little mouse. Then Alex read a book about a girl who wanted to be an astronaut, doing funny voices for all the characters that made Sophie giggle. For the 3rd book, Sophie climbed between them on her bed, and they took turns reading pages. Maya's heart felt full watching Alex figure out how to hold the book so Sophie could see the pictures, how to pause for her questions, how to make reading feel like an adventure. Good night, sweetheart, Maya said after they'd finished kissing Sophie's forehead. Good night, Mommy. Sophie turned to Alex. Good night, Alex. Thank you for the story. Thank you for letting me read to you, Alex said softly. Sleep well. Walking back to the living room, Maya felt something shift inside her. This wasn't just about Alex proving himself anymore. This was about building something new together. Not as former lovers trying to recapture the past, but as 2 people who loved the same little girl and wanted to give her the best life possible. About that business idea, Maya said as Alex gathered his things to leave. Maybe we could talk about it more. Alex's face lit up. Really?